I sit on the balcony of a small cafe perched in the heart of the city, sipping an espresso that still carries the warmth of the roaster, a faint steam curling upward like a whispered secret. Below me, the streets bustle, hurried footsteps clack against the pavement, murmured conversations blend into a low hum, a symphony of chaos I've grown to love. It's late afternoon, March 13th, 2025, and the sky is streaked with gold, the kind of light that makes even the grayest corners of this concrete jungle shimmer. My fingers rest lightly on the porcelain cup, the heat seeping into my skin, grounding me. An afternoon like any other, or so it seems. My phone vibrates against the wrought iron table, a sharp buzz cutting through the hum. The screen flashes a name, James, and I stare at it for a few seconds, a strange sense of unease creeping in, slow and cold, like a shadow stretching across the floor. James Carter, my husband of 12 years, co-founder of Mitchell Ventures, the man who thinks he knows me better than I know myself. I press answer, lifting the phone to my ear, and his voice comes through, sharp and odd, the way a blade sounds when it's unsheathed. Daria, he says, and there's something in the way he lingers on my name. Too deliberate, too heavy. I'm calling to tell you something. I don't respond. I wait. The city pulses below, a taxi horn blaring, a street vendor shouting about fresh pretzels. But here on this balcony, it's just me and the weight of his pause. My eyes trace the golden streak stretching long shadows over the road, and I feel it. The shift, the moment before everything changes. I want a divorce, he says finally, the words blunt, dropping like stones into still water. I let them ripple through the silence, my breath steady, my grip on the cup unfaltering. He's expecting something, a gasp, a plea, maybe a crack in my voice. But I give him nothing. Not yet. The espresso cools slightly in my hand, the city hums on, and I tilt my head, listening, waiting for the rest. Because with James, there's always more. He doesn't wait long to fill the silence. James never could stand it. I've sold the company, he says, his tone now thick with the confidence of a man who's just closed a deal he thinks unbeatable. Nicole and I are leaving to start over. Nicole. The name lands like a spark on dry grass. Nicole Evans, 34, all sharp edges and sharper ambition, the mistress he assumed I was too blind to see. I've known about her for months. Late-night texts he thought he'd hidden, expense reports for dinners I never ate, a red dress I glimpsed once in his car. But I say nothing, letting his words hang there, smug and heavy, while I decide not to feel, only to act. The espresso sits untouched now, a thin film forming on its surface, and I gaze out at the city, the evening sun dipping lower, casting the buildings in a fiery glow. Congratulations, I say, my voice light as air, almost a whisper, and on the other end of the line I hear his breath catch. Confusion, maybe, or the first crack in his certainty. He laughs then, a triumphant, smug sound that grates against my calm. I didn't think you'd take it this easily, he says, and I can picture him, 42 years old, leaning back in his office chair, tie loosened, that grin he wears when he thinks he's outsmarted everyone. You do realize, Daria, you have nothing left. The company's sold, and I own the majority of the assets. I glance at my watch. 4:47 p.m. Just a few more minutes. Is that what you think? I ask, my tone steady, a thread of steel woven through it. He nearly bursts into laughter, the sound tinny through the phone. Of course. Everything's done. My lawyers have taken care of it all. I hope you won't make this difficult. Won't try to fight for something that's already lost. You know the law isn't on your side. The city below shifts into dusk, headlights flickering on like stars, and I smile slightly, not for him, but for me. He thinks he's holding all the cards. He has no idea I've been shuffling the deck this whole time. I hang up before he can react, the line going dead with a soft click. and in that moment, a smirk curls at the corner of my lips. Small, private, mine. The cafe buzzes around me, a waiter clinking dishes, a couple laughing at the next table, but I'm already somewhere else. My mind racing ahead. I leave a crisp 10 on the table and step into the cool air, the city wrapping around me like an old friend. My phone buzzes again as I slide into my car. A text from Ethan Brooks, 45, my lawyer, and the one man I trust with my life. "It's done," it reads. "He can't sell what he no longer owns." Relief washes over me, sharp and sudden, like an invisible chain snapping in two. James thought he was the one controlling the game. He has no idea I have been dealing the cards for months. The engine hums to life, and I pull onto the street, the golden light bleeding into dusk, the skyline glowing strangely beautiful this evening. He thinks he can walk away, take everything I've built, leave me with nothing but a divorce decree and a smug grin. He's wrong. I've been watching, waiting, planning, every move he made, every lie he told, I've turned it into my weapon. I drive toward the mansion we once called home, the stone-paved driveway waiting ahead, its shadows stretching long under the fading sun. James will be there, lounging in his favorite chair, convinced he's won. He has no clue that while he was plotting his betrayal with Nicole, I was already writing the ending, one where he loses everything, and I rise higher than ever. The city fades behind me, headlights cutting through the twilight, and I feel it. A triumphant undercurrent, quiet but unshakable. This isn't over, it's just beginning. The mansion looms ahead as I pull into the driveway, its stone facade bathed in the last gasps of dusk. A place that once felt like home, but now stands as nothing more than a stage for what's about to unfold. I step through the heavy wooden doors, the rhythmic clicks of my heels echoing through the silent space, a sound that cuts sharper than any words I could say. Inside, the air is thick with the scent of polished oak and the faint tang of red wine, James's signature. There he is, exactly where I knew he'd be, lounging in his favorite armchair, swirling a glass in his hand like a king on a throne he doesn't deserve. Beside him, Nicole stands by the window, arms crossed, her tight red dress a stark slash of color under the chandelier's warm glow. The confidence she once carried so effortlessly has frayed at the edges. I can see it in the way her fingers twitch, the way her eyes flicker toward me. James's lips curl into a condescending smile the moment he spots me, his head tilting slightly as if appraising a defeated opponent. "Daria, you're finally home," he says, his voice dripping with satisfaction, a tone I've heard 100 times when he thinks he's closed a deal or broken someone. "I assume you've had time to think things over." I don't rush to answer. Instead, I place my bag on the table with deliberate care, the soft thud of leather against wood punctuating the silence. And take a seat across from him, my posture relaxed, but my gaze steady. He's expecting tears, a scream, something to feed his ego. But I've never been one to give him what he wants. Not tonight, not ever. The chandelier hums faintly overhead, casting shadows that dance across his smug face, and I let the moment stretch, my calm a weapon he doesn't yet understand. This isn't his victory lap. It's mine. I reach into my briefcase, pulling out a thick stack of documents, and place them on the table with a decisive thud that makes Nicole flinch. James narrows his eyes, glancing at the papers, then back at me, his grin faltering just enough to notice. "What is this?" he asks, his voice strained, the first hint of uncertainty creeping in. I intertwine my fingers, offering him a calm smile that doesn't reach my eyes. "The truth," I say, my tone light but edged with steel, "and I think you should read it before you continue your performance." He hesitates, then picks up the stack, flipping through the first few pages. Shareholder agreements, signatures, dates, and I watch as the color drains from his face, the wine glass stilling in his hand. Nicole shifts uneasily, her gaze darting between us, her red dress suddenly too bright, too loud in the dimming room. According to the agreement we signed 5 years ago, I begin, reading slowly from a single sheet. I slide toward him. No sale or transfer of shares can occur without the approval of all primary stakeholders. I pause, locking eyes with him. And as you can see, I now hold the majority stake, 60%. James blinks, his mouth opening then closing, as if the words refuse to form. "That's impossible," he mutters, his voice a hoarse whisper. "I own 55% of the shares." I shake my head, cutting him off with a faint tilt of my head. "You used to own 55%. But while you were busy with your personal affairs," I glance at Nicole, her face paling, "I quietly acquired the rest from other investors." A heavy silence fills the room, thick and suffocating, and I lean back in my chair, letting it settle. Nicole finally speaks, her voice wavering, losing its usual sharpness. "James," she says, stepping closer, panic spreading across her features. He doesn't look at her. His eyes are locked on me, hard and searching. I tilt my head again, my smile widening just a fraction. "Looks like he told you exactly what you wanted to hear, Nicole." She shakes her head, stepping back, her heels clicking faintly against the hardwood. And I see it, the moment she realizes she's boarded a sinking ship. James grips the papers tighter, knuckles whitening, but I stay still, my calm unshaken. He thought he'd outplayed me. He's only just starting to see how wrong he was. I retrieve another set of documents from my briefcase, placing them gently in front of him, the rustle of paper loud in the stillness. "But this is where things get interesting," I say, my voice slow but razor-sharp, each word deliberate. "Do you remember the $1,200,000 that mysteriously disappeared from the company's internal investment fund?" James freezes, his jaw clenching, and Nicole's gasp is soft but audible, a crack in her crumbling facade. "Or those contracts you signed with a shell consulting firm in Hong Kong?" I lean forward slightly, my tone dropping to ice-cold precision. "That's called financial fraud, James." I pull out another stack, sliding it across the table. Bank records, transaction logs, emails, and watch his eyes widen, the smugness draining away like water through a sieve. "I have records of every suspicious transaction you've made over the past 3 years," I continue, my voice steady, unrelenting. "There's enough evidence here to trigger a full-scale investigation by the SEC and IRS. And guess what?" I pause, letting the weight sink in, my gaze never leaving his. "I already sent a copy to Ethan this morning." James shoots to his feet, slamming his fist onto the table, the wine glass tipping and spilling red across the wood, a fitting stain. "You dare," he starts, but I stand too, cutting him off with a single raised hand. "Dare to do what, James? Let you start over with Nicole while burning everything behind you?" My words are calm, measured, but they slice through his rage. "Did you really think I was that naive?" Nicole steps back again, her breath hitching, and before James can respond, she grabs her purse, her movements frantic. "You lied to me," she nearly screams, her voice trembling with desperation. "You promised me everything would be fine." She doesn't wait for his reply. Her heels clatter toward the door, and it slams shut behind her, the sound reverberating through the silent space. James stands there, his face contorted in a mix of rage and despair, the spilled wine pooling around the papers. I shrug, picking up the final stack and setting it down with a soft tap. "Tomorrow, the board will hold an emergency meeting," I say, my tone almost gentle now. "And you won't need to attend. You're out." He stares at me, still unable to process the collapse, and I turn toward the door, my heels clicking once more. This isn't just a win, it's the end of his game and the start of mine. I step into my office, the door clicking shut behind me, sealing out the night as city lights reflect off the floor-to-ceiling glass like a constellation trapped in a mirror. The glow from my computer screen flickers steadily, lines of data scrolling across the monitor. Numbers, transactions, emails, all systematically extracted and displayed. A digital net I've been weaving for over a year. I settle into my chair, the leather cool against my skin, and take a slow sip of wine, the rich taste grounding me as I open an encrypted file. A long password, 16 characters, alphanumeric, uncrackable, unlocks the system, and the screen floods with evidence. $3,800,000 siphoned from Mitchell Ventures' internal investment fund, funneled into anonymous accounts I've traced to tax havens, the Cayman Islands, Switzerland, Singapore. Phantom contracts bloom next, hundreds of thousands paid to consulting firms that don't exist. Their address is nothing but P.O. boxes in Hong Kong. My fingers hover over the keyboard, steady and sure as I click on a file, an audio recording extracted from the company's security system, a little gift from my cybersecurity days. James's voice spills out, clear and unmistakable. We'll keep pulling money from the company in small amounts. No one will notice. Once the sale goes through, we'll have enough to leave and no one will be able to trace it. I hit pause, the words hanging in the air, and a smirk tugs at my lips. He forgot one critical detail. I'm not just his wife. I'm the expert who built the systems he thought he could manipulate. Before co-founding Mitchell Ventures with him, I worked for a tech giant, specializing in financial security, dissecting fraud like this for breakfast. He didn't stand a chance. The real-time financial interface blinks to life, and I watch James make one last desperate attempt to move the remaining funds overseas. $500,000, a pitiful lifeline. Not so fast, James. I activate the security override, a protocol I designed years ago, and within seconds a red alert pops up. Transaction failed. Account temporarily locked. My phone buzzes, Ethan's name lighting the screen. Daria, he says, his voice ringing with excitement, I just got confirmation from the SEC. They've received all the documents you sent. They're launching an immediate investigation. The IRS is involved, too. James won't escape this. I tap my pen lightly against the desk, the faint rhythm syncing with the city's pulse beyond the window. Good, I reply, calm as ever. I want them to scrutinize every transaction, every contract he's signed in the past 2 years. Ethan chuckles. They won't let him off the hook. I end the call, the wine glass cool in my hand, and feel an unusual peace settle over me. His empire's crumbling, and I'm the one holding the hammer. Somewhere across town, James stumbles out of a luxury hotel elevator, his tie loosened, his face pale from exhaustion, a man unraveling thread by thread. I don't need to see it to know it's happening. I can picture him, 42 and frantic, hands trembling as he pulls out his phone, dialing numbers that won't answer. His personal attorney, gone silent. His financial advisor, cut off. Business partners, all withdrawing like rats from a flood. I lean back in my chair. The city lights a steady glow beyond the glass, and imagine the crushing pressure tightening around his chest as he rushes through the hotel's back entrance. A sleek black car waits, engine humming, and he throws himself into the back seat, slamming the door shut. I need a flight to Switzerland. Immediately, he snaps, voice hoarse. The driver glances at the rearview mirror, calm as stone. Mr. Carter, I think you should check the news before heading to the airport. James frowns, fumbling with his phone, and opens his banking app. A notification flares. Account frozen. Contact your bank for further details. His breathing grows shallow, panicked, and he tries another login, a secret account, one he thought I'd never find. Account locked under financial investigation order. He slams his fist against the seat, a guttural sound escaping him, every escape route severed by the system I built. Meanwhile, Nicole's on her own trajectory, walking briskly down a sidewalk, clutching her handbag like a shield, her fingers trembling as she dials James's number, straight to voicemail. A taxi pulls up, and she climbs in, voice tight. JFK Airport. Her phone vibrates before the car moves, a message from her attorney. Nicole, if you're tied to Carter's accounts, cooperate with the authorities. The FBI's involved. Cold sweat beads on her forehead, and her eyes dart to another message. The one she sent me hours ago, a desperate plea. She presses call, her voice shaking when I answer. Daria, I have information on James. I'm willing to turn over everything, as long as I get protection. I let the silence stretch, my tone calm, but razor sharp when I finally speak. Good. Send me everything, and don't even think about running. I'll know. She trembles as I hang up, and I smirk, sipping my wine. They're scrambling, but I'm still one step ahead. I step into the grand hall of the Manhattan Hotel, the annual financial summit in full swing, the long carpeted aisle stretching before me like a runway to the speaker stage. All eyes turn my way, executives, investors, reporters, and I feel the weight of their curiosity, their tension, as my heels sink into the plush red. I'm no longer Mrs. Carter, the shadow behind James. I'm Daria Mitchell, 38 and unyielding, and today I'll tear down everything he built on lies. The massive LED screen behind me lights up with bold words. The truth about Mitchell Ventures, what the market needs to know. The crowd falls silent, a ripple of glances exchanged, and I take the podium, hands resting on the cold wooden surface, the spotlight catching my eyes. Fierce, unflinching. I'm sure you've all seen the headlines, I begin, my voice strong and unwavering, cutting through the hush. What we're witnessing isn't just the downfall of one man. It's a lesson in greed and deception. I pause, letting the words settle, then continue. Mitchell Ventures was once a powerhouse, but in days, its value has plummeted. Why? The screen shifts, displaying internal emails, falsified reports, shady transactions. My evidence, undeniable. Because James Carter lied to all of us. He manipulated the company's valuation for personal gain, used investment funds to conceal illegal cash flows, and orchestrated a sale based on fraudulent numbers. Murmurs ripple through the room, phones lighting up as attendees verify what I've laid bare. I lock eyes with Charles Grayson, 60, in the front row, an investor who once voiced doubts to me. Mr. Grayson, I call, the hall stilling again. You've received the full financial report on Mitchell Ventures' true standing. Can you confirm what I've stated? He straightens, adjusts his tie, and nods firmly. Everything Ms. Mitchell has said is accurate. The murmurs grow louder, and I press on. Anyone who's done business with Mitchell Ventures has the right to ask, can we trust this company? Can we allow someone like James to keep manipulating the market? I scan the room, my gaze steady. I don't think so. The nods start, slow, then certain, and I step back, a faint smirk playing on my lips. His empire's not just falling, it's being erased. I walk into the boardroom of Mitchell Ventures, the marble floor cool beneath my heels, their powerful clicks echoing off the walls as shareholders take their seats. Familiar faces mixed with those who once sided with James, their eyes now brimming with curiosity and unease. The air hangs heavy, thick with the scent of coffee and the tension of a company teetering on collapse, but I carry none of their doubt. I sit in the chair James once treated like a throne, my dark dress stark against its leather, and tap my pen lightly against the table, letting the silence stretch until it's almost unbearable. Behind me, the screen lights up, displaying a list of names, board members marked for removal, and I begin, my voice calm, yet razor sharp. We have a lot to address today, so I'll get straight to the point. James Carter deceived every single one of us. A wave of whispers spreads through the room, but I press on, each word deliberate. He attempted to sell this company without the board's consent. But what he didn't realize was that I'd already secured enough shares to take full control. 60%. The whispers grow sharper, a few of James's old allies, exchanging worried glances, and I lean back, locking eyes with each person present. Anyone tied to him will no longer hold power here, I say, tapping a command on my tablet. The screen shifts again. A new logo blazes to life. Phoenix Innovation Group. Mitchell Ventures died with James, I continue, my tone steady, unwavering. But from its ashes, we'll build something stronger. The room falls silent, stunned, the weight of my words sinking in. Charles Grayson, silver-haired and skeptical, speaks from the far end. Daria, are you certain this change will lead to success? The market's still shaken. I smile, locking eyes with him, my voice brimming with confidence. I'm not certain. I'm sure. The stillness breaks as nods ripple through the group, and I outline my vision. A focus on technology and cybersecurity, sectors James always underestimated, but ones I've mastered. I've secured partnerships to fund this transition, I add, and anyone staying will commit to this future. The vote begins, swift and decisive. Phoenix Innovation Group is born. James thought he could take everything from me, but I've taken it all back, and then some. I stand in my new office at Phoenix Innovation Group, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the vast Manhattan skyline, the city lights pulsing below like a heartbeat I've learned to command. My phone buzzes, a message from Ryan Hayes lighting the screen. James Carter was arrested this morning at a private airport in Miami. Tried fleeing to South America with a fake passport. No way out. I take a sip of coffee, the warmth seeping into my hands, and let the words settle. James in handcuffs, caught in the blinding flashes of news cameras. A fitting end for a man who thought he could cheat the system. Another message pops up, an unknown number. I should never have trusted him. I should have known he couldn't protect me. But now, it's too late. Nicole. I let it fade into oblivion, not worth my time, and open my laptop instead, the latest financial report glowing bright. Phoenix stock has soared 150% in 3 months. Contracts pouring in from the world's largest funds. The media is already calling me the woman behind the new tech revolution, a title I've earned not just by dismantling James, but by rebuilding stronger. He thought he could destroy me, leave me with nothing, but he forgot. I don't just know revenge. I know how to rise. I step toward the window, the coffee cup warm in my palm, and gaze at the horizon stretching endless before me. Justice isn't about tearing down a betrayer. It's about forging something unbreakable from the ashes, letting the truth surface like water through stone. James lost everything because he lost trust, the one currency no money can buy back. I didn't just reclaim my company, I built an empire, and the lesson cuts deep. The best revenge isn't destruction. It's success that outshines every lie. The battle's over, but this is just the beginning.